I actually have to make over the next 10, 15, 20 years so I can retire, leave money to my kids, etc. That should be mapped out. And within that, it has some rules which will mitigate this problem that most investors face.
Yeah.
One is it'll set the tone for, if the market's great, do I need to be 100% in stocks? And generally speaking, we find most clients don't. They can be 60% stocks and still get there, or 70. The sheer idea of not being 100% stocks takes away a lot of the risk of those big declines, right? That's number one. Number two is, it's a market of stocks as well as it is a stock market. Some companies, let's say the stock market's doing poorly or the economy is doing poorly, which usually go together. Some companies, some stocks do fine.
Yeah.
Procter & Gamble sells Tide detergent and Crest toothpaste. People still use it, and those kinds of companies can get through that fine.
Right.
So, first of all, clients and investors should have an allocation, a limit to how much stock exposure they need. They should make sure if the market gets difficult that they kind of get in the defensive parts of the market and get away from the risk. And we have a process that pushes them towards that. And then I think one of my favorite tools that's well known, and it doesn't cost anything, but investors somehow don't use them, is we use carefully placed stop loss orders. These are mechanisms that we put on a client portfolio, and let's say they own a stock, it's called ABC, and the stock's 100. We tell the traders, if this stock falls more than normal, and we have a way to calculate that, we want it automatically sold. Wow, what is that doing? That's taking the human brain entirely out.
Right.
It's taking our psychology of fear and greed completely away and saying this has fallen more than normal. We measure, and all different stocks are different for that. So we have to be very careful about using them, but it is a method to let investors know this is pretty much, if we lose money, this is as much as it's going to be. And it's nowhere near that ugly math we were describing that's so hard to recover from. So, big reason I wrote the book was this process of set some ground rules, use some of those tools like stop losses. So when a position, let's say First Republic Bank, most people are familiar with that.
Right.
It was $50 a share, and within a year it went to zero. So a tool like a stop loss stops that from getting horrible, while most investors go through that psychology we talked about of, oh gosh, denial, I'm not looking at it.
Because sometimes we need outside things to help us, right?
Correct.
And so like your stop loss is like one of those tools in which you've already discussed, when it gets to be this number, we're going to put a stop loss. And it really takes a lot of that emotional part out of it, because what we're doing is to help people identify what those triggers are, what's coming up for them. And so sometimes it's better to have these parameters in line as a way to manage risk, right? Because you always want to, when I'm working with people, I always want to create like a bigger risk. Here's a greater risk if you don't do this. Right? And so when you're thinking about those types of things and you're helping people, and when they're in a calm place and they're consulting with you and they're talking about things, you want to put that plan into place, because it's very easy, right? We talked a lot about, you and I all the time, about confirmation bias and like how we just look for all the things to confirm. We're just looking and we just forget about everything else that doesn't confirm our bias.
That's it.
Right? And then we get caught in like these patterns of life and relationships or investing and so forth, because even though there's other things that would counter our bias or our thought pattern, we just ignore those. You're like, sure.
That's right.
Right? And that's what people do, because they want to do what they want to do, and they're looking for to be confirmed. It's like, right, but you're ignoring the stuff that's hiding in plain sight that is equally important, especially in these huge financial decisions that you're making for your life.
And I think, like we said right in the beginning, if you're on the outside looking at someone else's situation, you can see it very clearly.
Oh, yes.
They're missing all this.
Right. Why'd they make that decision? That was dumb. They shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.